Yeah, well, he's dancing not just because of the music, because the Sarnia Sting winning against Windsor 1-0 in what I would call a very fast-paced first period.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, Dave, that was probably one of the strongest periods of hockey I've seen the Sting play in a while. For sure.
I would definitely have to agree with that. Maybe that comes from some new energy that's out there. Do you think? Or do you think maybe the conversation was just, here you go, you know who you're up against, do you want to lose against them again? I don't know. I think there's, Porter Martone there getting that goal.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, he's coming in from scoring a bunch of goals at the UA, right? And it was a well-played goal. Not just from him,
and his
but
first
everybody involved.
OHL goal.
Yeah,
so,
his first OHL.
That was it was outstanding. It was
so
nice.
Now the excitement's out there when that goal happens, especially against a team like Windsor. You have got to get the first couple of goals against a team like this to hold true.
And it's not for lack of trying. I mean, we're 14-6 on the shot clock, in favor of the Sting. That's a good showing any way you look at it,
100%.
I think we've had some real quality opportunities. I think I still just like to see the play tighten up just that little bit more. But they're certainly
never happy.
I
get it.
But you know what? It's a strong showing. But to say that there's not still room, to bring it up, even that next sort of ratchet up kind of thing, would be silly. But I mean, that was an absolutely strong period of hockey. I loved all the new guys. I mean, they certainly seem to fit in.
Totally have fit in well, I agree.
Oh, my goodness.
Boy, that's Sasha, and I'm going by his first name, but I still don't know his last name.
Yeah.
But, man, he moves, and he was in a lot of places where the puck was when it was sent that way. It's like he had a sense of knowing where the puck was going to end up from the passes. And the passes are, you talk a lot often about short little choppy passes. We're not seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of long, solid passes, not hitting too many skates.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think, we clearly outplayed them in the forward zone, which resulted in a goal. Which, if we can keep that up, will result in more goals.
Right.
I do want to say, again, I'm still very impressed with Alexi Davio. I think, he, with the holes in our defensive end, he's one of those guys that just, you can count on him to be there and do what you need to do. And frankly, Sandis Vilmanis, Vilmanis has been in the middle of a bunch of good stuff,
Right.
So, and then, Berkey's shining out there again, as we've come to expect.
Well, let's talk about Ryan Mast. There's somebody that you haven't been a huge fan of as far as his playing goes. We're seeing him out there. He seems to be moving a little more.
Well, you know what? I think there's still, again, yeah, you're right. And I mean, it's nothing personal against anybody. It's not. This is just what I see from my.
And if you don't like Jay Peckham, it's not personal.
You're absolutely welcome to that, 100%. But you know what? I mean,
you've just wanted to see him get a little bit more into the game.
I do. I
move a little more.
And you know what? I mean, yeah, I see a little bit of improvement. He's getting an awful lot of playing time, but given the challenges with our defense, I absolutely get that.
Yeah.
But I'd really like to see him, be a little more physical, take a little more, play in his position and.
Now, when you say physical, you're talking about like the checking of the boards, that kind of getting in the way,
absolutely.
getting in the way of the arm of the player, kind of thing. Or
yeah, and I don't know
because I don't think
if
we want to get too aggressive against a team like Windsor.
No, but I don't know if it's a coach's decision because Ryan does not seem to be, like he's not strictly a defenseman because, he thinks nothing of pulling that puck right off the boards in the back end and skating it all the way up and doing a dipsy-doodle behind the net and stuff like that, whatever it is. That little wonderful move where we just go around the net a couple of times.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when he comes out of position like that, we're taking a forward who that's their job, and we're putting them in the back end to make sure that puck doesn't get past the blue line. And so I'd like to see him, be a little more consistent with that defensive play.
Let's talk about Doucette out there. Here's another player that we've kind of been keeping our eye on. What are your thoughts on his performance here today? I've seen him more, and I feel like he's moving a little quicker out there than what we're used to with him. And I bring this up only with all these different players because, again, with the 3 or 4 new players that we've got out there, is there a new atmosphere in the room, so to speak?
You know what? So let me see if I can break down and give you some answers. I really like Tyson Doucette in the preseason. Here was a guy that impressed me in camp and that sort of stuff. He was good, quick, and he seemed to have some of that hockey sense that I talked about in the past. But then, sort of early part of this season, we didn't see much from him. I'm not sure if it was just, younger guy, whatever. I'm not sure what that was. But then, today's game, I typically will tend to judge based on how many times I see their name involved in a good play.
Right, okay.
Right? And I can tell you I've noticed him out there and being a factor in this game, which is not something we've seen, in the early part of this season. So it's nice to see him step up. Nice to see him playing hard.
Well, so here we are, right? Like still early stages of the game, but we're about 18, 19 games into this season already for this team. And if you look at the conference listings, standings, I should say, Sarnia's thing is like the middle of the pack in their conference. So I feel like at this point they've really got something to prove compared to some others. Like if we were to take a look, the Sioux Greyhounds way down at the bottom there, which is totally not something we've seen in
uncharacteristic
years. But you kind of wonder what's happening there. So when you're in the middle of the pack, it's kind of like you're not the top dog, you're not down at the bottom. So something to prove means we either got to hold on and sneak our way up, because if we don't, then we're going to fall down, and that's not the direction that this team needs to go, especially after the last few seasons. I really think that this Sarnia Sting team, seeing what we've got coming in right now, and I believe there's more to come, they're going to have a great playoff team.
Yeah, and I think clearly with some of the moves that Sting management have made in terms of players, I think it's it seems obvious to me that they're building for the future, and they're building for this year. They're building to be a contender when it comes to playoff time, and I love that, And if today's hockey game, in this first period anyway of this hockey game, says anything, it says we're on our way down the right path.
Yeah.
So you were asking about, whether or not there's a different thing. Well, who knows? There could be a lot of dynamics in here. Clearly the management are interested in building, and they have no problem trading away someone, that we saw some value in, like Max Nemesnikov. So what does that say to the rest of these players?
Well,
I would hope it says
at any given moment.
At any given moment. So if you want to be here and you want to contribute to our club's success, you need to step up your game, because we're putting together that kind of team.
And to go back to Coach Al Letang from last year and from the start of this year, he's made it very, very clear you don't get to play if you got to earn your time out on that ice. It's not just because you're normally a better player that you get to go.
I love a good meritocracy.
It's a per game thing. It's not like what you did last week, because last week is over.
Yep.
Here we are today. It's not even about the next one. It's what are we handling here? And I think does it make a difference when you bring in these 3-4 new players like we've seen? Would it have made a difference them coming in today playing against another team like Sioux? Or was Windsor the right team for the test of these new players coming in?
I think Windsor is a good test on any day.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you want to test out your talent, this is the team to do it against, right? I mean, they're top of the league. You know, they're in that top 5% kind of thing. They have a well-developed game, very strategic. They've got incredible support in their coaching staff and all that sort of stuff. Typically, they have a good, strong team.
Yeah.
You know, what a great test for us. And I think right now, clearly, we're passing that test.
Right.
At least in one period, we're passing that test.
That's why there's 3 periods, and there's 2 more to go here. And the Sarnia Sting have to be having discussions about what do we do coming to the next period. Do we just keep pushing like we have been? I'm not sure. I think they played a really good period. I still think the vertical pedal on the right needs to happen a little bit more, and just like you mentioned at the start of this broadcast, just a little bit more structure there.
Yeah.
But I've got to say I'm really impressed with the tightness that we've. I mean, these guys just started playing together.
Yeah.
And there seems to be a sync going on out there.
Yeah, if we can just, you're right, Dave. I think if we can keep the same kind of pace as we had for the first period, and we keep that going into the second and third periods, I think that's a good piece. You're right. We do need to tighten it down a little bit, but we also got to keep the lid on it a little bit.
That's right.
Because clearly Zach Filak and
don't get ahead of ourselves.
Angus McDonnell, they've already started shoving back. And, I mean, good for them.
Yeah.
But, you know what, we got to keep that, tight. We got to keep that tightly under control.
And another record has been broken here tonight. I'm not even sure if Jay realizes it, but the amount of times he said, yes, David, you're right. I've never heard it that many times.
Did you have to take your shoes off so you could count that high?
Speaking of shoes, thank you very much for the shoes I loaned you 2,000 years ago.
No, thank you.
And they're here. All right, post-game press conference coming up. Sarnia Sting back out on the ice. We're going to let Jay Peckham go so he can enjoy the game, but we'll be back here after the next period. Live from the concourse with the Sarnia Sting, I'm David Burrows. This is Jay Peckham.
Go Sting, go!